Chapter 14. After prayer, what? Let us suppose that you have prayed about some need using the science of prayer. You have let go of the problem in a time of relaxation of mind and body. You have turned within in an experience of wordless silence, feeling your oneness at the center. And then you have spoken the word of truth, affirming the reality in back of the negative appearance. And you have ended with a consciousness of amen. So be it. Now what do? At times you may come to the end of your prayer time feeling empty, doubtful, wondering if the prayer will work. Remember, God can do no more for you than he can do through you. You may be thinking, well, I prayed, so now the rest is up to God. But as they say in tennis, the ball is in your court. Your prayer is not for God. He needs neither your prayers nor your praise. He doesn't need your supplication to understand your need. The Father knows what things you have need of, even before you ask him. And it is always the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. In God, there is an eternal yes. But your part is to get into a yes consciousness and stay there. Change your mind and keep it changed. Your prayer time may have renewed your faith and sharpened your vision, but it is still, thy faith hath made thee whole. It is not that God has done something special for you, for God has already done all that he can ever do. He has created you in his image and endowed you with the possibilities of the kingdom of God within you. So God has already done his work. Your need is to believe it and to act as if you believe it. Jesus said, if you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. John 13, verse 17. Beyond the amen of prayer, the next step is to act as if you believe that what you have affirmed is really true. Go and do what comes naturally. And it will come naturally because it is the activity of God in you that has revealed the goal and has given you the faith in it. The Quakers have a delightful phrase. When you pray, move your feet. Expect the answer through you in guidance and direction through your consciousness. Get busy being what you have affirmed. Often, the hoped-for demonstration is an end, a goal, a condition, or an object or achievement all wrapped up and beribboned. Something about which we can sit back and say with Jack Horner, I stuck in my thumb and pulled out a plum and said, what a good boy am I. In other words, I prayed and the answer came and it is all over. But life doesn't come to ends. Life is an experience of growth and going on. Many persons sit in the serene attitude of, I fold my hands and wait, expecting the Spirit to move them and God's miracle to unfold. You may say, I am praying for a job. When God tells me where to apply, I'll go there. But in the meantime, I'll watch the soaps on TV. But I am a great believer in prayer, and I am praying diligently about it. When you pray, move your feet. People often complain that they have not received their demonstration in a certain situation. Actually, they are probably holding back the process because they are not letting the demonstration make them. The ball is really in their court, but they act as if it were in God's. The Bible does say those that wait on the Lord shall inherit the earth, Psalm 37, verse 9. But this is another one of those cases where a dubious translation has led to confusion. To wait on the Lord doesn't mean sitting on your hands, a kind of procrastination. The Hebrew word from which we get the word wait is kavah, which literally means to bind together. Thus, to wait on the Lord means to integrate yourself with the power and potential of your spiritual nature, to get yourself plugged in, tuned in, and turned on. The wait is not a matter of time, but of consciousness. We have the cliche, in God's good time. So then if we wait a long time and nothing happens, we have erroneously thought, I guess God is saying no, or not yet, dear. What we need is to get our mind to stay on God, to get and keep plugged in, to become a channel for the creative flow. Prayer is often limited by the complex of these things take time. However, it is not the conditions that are limited by time, but your attitude toward them. The problem will continue as long as you hope it will be healed one of these days. And it will always remain one of these days until you change your thought and realize that now is the time. This is the moment. I accept it. Yes. Jacob Boehm says that man fell asleep in time and can never understand himself or life until he wakes up. Paul believed this too, for he says, "Awake thou that sleepest, that Christ may shine upon you." Wake up. Accept this dynamic, radiant child of God self, which is you and has been you from the very beginning of time. When we are asleep to our true power, the reality within, we go about our life walking, talking, maneuvering in a state of unconsciousness. Our acts are the mechanical acts of hypnotized people. This is why the world seems to go from one disaster to another. George Gurdjieff says that a conscious human being would not destroy himself through crime and war. It is just that we simply do not know what we are doing to ourselves. But he says optimistically that you can wake up. You can know who you really are. And then love, intelligence, and peace will no longer be merely words and theories. They will be you. You see, when you close your eyes, you are opening the inner eye of transcendence that you may see from the highest point of view. The challenge is to keep this inner eye open beyond prayer, and that takes discipline. The need is not to set things right, but to see them rightly. This takes all the effort and strain out of prayer. You may say, "I have tried and tried to make this thing work, and now I'm going to pray for a divine outworking." But you are still trying to work it out. Only now you are trying through prayer to set it right. There is a letting go called for, knowing that the need is not to set it right, but to see it rightly. And the one way is to turn from the appearance. Close your eyes to all the convincing facts of the condition and open the inner eye, the process that Jesus calls judging righteous judgment. This means seeing it as it was intended to be. It is like using the imaging power of the mind and seeing a sick child as a perfect, whole, radiant child running about, bouncing a ball, riding a tricycle outdoors, or seeing yourself as the strong, capable, competent person that you are, that you can become. As the within, so the without. No matter what the appearance, the inner is always there. Thus, prayer is to close the outer eyes and open the inner eye of transcendence to see from the highest point of view. You may say, "But the condition is there, my side hurts," or "I don't have enough money in the bank." It's a fact. Of course, it is a fact, but it is not the truth. Facts and truth are two entirely different things. The truth is what the thing can be, the reality that is always present because God is always present. He is present as that which you need and as that which divine life is seeking to give you. We live in a universe of law. The most effective prayer still does not bypass the obligation to live within the divine law. It takes hours of disciplined practice to become a good musician, or, as I can attest, a good golfer. How many hours a day does it require to become a good truth student? I mean, thinking and living spiritual principles. Just reading truth books will not make you a metaphysician any more than reading a book about the violin will make you a good violinist. Something much more is required of us. How much time should you spend in the practice of the presence of God? All the time, because we are dealing with fundamental law. We are not dealing with the caprice of God, who may smile on you once in a while you must go on begging, hat in hand, hoping to get into the rhythm of the creative flow once in a while. That certainly is not what prayer is all about. How often do you have to practice the presence of gravity? All the time. Anytime you forget about gravity and fail to practice your relationship with it, you fall on your face. So with the practice of the presence of God, we are told to pray without ceasing. It could be said that the reason we have problems is that we stop practicing the presence of God. So you see, the practice of the presence of God is not just a nice thing you do for which you get brownie points. It is something you do for survival. The sooner you realize this, the sooner you will begin to experience that life more abundant that Jesus promised. When you open your eyes from your prayer time, potentially you are born into the world in a new level of consciousness. You are born again as a new person. Isn't that wonderful? You open your eyes and wow, it's your birthday. It's a new day. You are a new person. And it can be true if you believe that life is a constant process of awakening, letting go, releasing that which is negative, getting in tune with the positive flow of divine life. The challenge is to act as if you are new. Trust the process and let it lead you forward to a new experience, as it surely will. Your amen says, okay, so it is. Believe that it is done. Again, the ball is in your court. You have prayed for the job or relationship or for a healing. So now, move your feet. Get started. There will be the temptation of many influences urging you to postpone action, to wait until the Spirit moves you, to do it tomorrow. Goethe says that whatever you dream you can do, begin it, for boldness has genius and power and magic in it. So keep on and keep on keeping on until the work is completed. Your mind may be harassed by many subconscious influences, urging you to let down, drop out, give up. The fact is that those who succeed, who do great things in music and art and science and business and research and athletics, may well be different from most of us, mainly because of the courage to launch themselves and the will to keep on till the goal is reached. It is interesting how many people feel that if a thing is right, it should literally work itself out. So if there are obstacles, pressures, or delays, then it must not be right for you. They think it is God's way of saying no, thus it can't or shouldn't be done. Long-distance runners are often defeated by the intrusion of negative thoughts, telling them that they can't go on. They may have the wildest illusions that they are exhausted, that they are dying, that it is impossible to continue. And if they give in, they drop out. But if they forge on through this barrier, the runner calls it the wall, they get their second wind. William James had this in mind when he said that we must move past the first layer of fatigue. Now, as we keep on and keep on keeping on in the trusting process, it is important to realize that the universe has many hands, many means by which your answer will come. A woman was looking back to her childhood where she had learned a great lesson in prayer. Little girls in her day were supposed to learn to knit and sew, so every evening she had to make one piece for a patchwork quilt. Her hands were awkward and her stubby fingers were unsuited for needlework. After an evening's work, using all her ability, she had invariably produced a piece that was uneven and puckered. It was always discouraging after trying so hard. Her mother taught her to place the pieces between the pages of the Bible on her bedstand so that during the night, God would make the crooked places straight. And in the morning, she would go to her Bible and discover that the piece was sewn tight and neat. It helped her to have a great trust in God. She said it wasn't until many years later that she learned that her mother would always tiptoe into her room while she was sleeping, pick out the stitches, and re-sew them straight. But, she says, it didn't shake her faith in God. It taught her another great lesson, that God invariably works through human hands to bring about good. Again, trust the process and keep open. A realization that has always been helpful for me is I have faith in God as the source of all my good, and I bless all the many channels through which it may come. After prayer, the next step is the need to give. This may well be the problem. When things get tight, something's got to give. It is an excellent practice. At the conclusion of any and every prayer, make a commitment to give in some way. It is not that God demands it, but that it is one way to be certain that you are giving way to the flow. Don't delude yourself. Giving is an important prerequisite to receiving. Make a commitment to some effort of giving. It is a marvelous practice. So, after prayer, what do? You discipline yourself to maintain the transcendent perspective and keep yourself in a state of perpetual trust in the spiritual process. There has been a lot of talk recently about Victor Hugo's Les Miserables because of the hit musical of the same name. In the book, the nuns of the Convent of Perpetual Adoration are reminded of the holy life every half hour by the ringing of a bell. No matter what they are doing, every nun stops and repeats a Hail Mary. You can imagine that a nun on the verge of losing her temper might, by the ringing of a bell, be reminded to keep her inward peace, to maintain her prayer consciousness. One of my favorite characters in the Bible is Nehemiah, who undertook the task of rebuilding the walls of the city of Jerusalem, a symbol of prayer. The surrounding tribes did everything they could do to harass Nehemiah in his work and prevent the wall from being completed. They conspired to have him come out to the plains of Ono for a meeting where they would slay him. I see him standing tall upon the wall and proclaiming dramatically, "I am doing a great work and I cannot come down." It is a fine credo for the sincere student of truth. Get the feeling that every difficulty that seems to disrupt the consciousness achieved by your prayer is like a bell ringing to remind you to reaffirm who and what you are, to remember the truth that if you want to, you can, because you couldn't want to if you couldn't. Your desire is proof positive of your ability. Realize this and keep on. Your power to see a goal at all is also your power to see it through to achievement. Believe this and act as if you believed it. Stand tall upon the wall of your spiritual defenses and proclaim to the harassing negative thoughts that would lure you into chaos, "I am doing a good work and I will not come down." A man once asked Socrates, "How do I get to Mount Olympus?" The wise man said, "Just make every step you take go in that direction." This is similar to a man who stopped the great Paderewski on the streets of Manhattan and asked, "How do I get to Carnegie Hall?" The reply, practice, practice, practice. To bring this study of prayer to a close, let me challenge you to make a new beginning in the practice of prayer. For a period of study and practice, drill yourself on the most shocking aspects of this book and follow its technique in praying about people and conditions and about yourself. But then when you feel you have caught the idea, you should be on a higher vibrational level and the process should work for you as readily as you breathe. If you find things not responding to your prayers, then it would be good to go back to the technique and take another period of practice. If you really work at it, I am convinced that the process will work wonders in your life. Remember, prayer is an inward-out activity of the mind. It is not putting needs and troubles into God's mind. Rather, it is letting God-mind speak the words through you. The universe is calling. Are you listening?